Welcome to another informative edition of the Spotlight here on Community Channel 6. I'm your host, Sherry Ann Noel, and in the Spotlight we'll be speaking about calypso. As we are well aware, we are blessed. We have two carnivals, one in Carriacou, one on the mainland. And to discuss calypso and the whole construction of it and judging, I have one of our local judges, Randall Robinson, who is also a regional judge. And we're going to talk a lot about the construction of calypso, what they look for, the high points and the low points. Elon, welcome to the Spotlight.
Thank you, Sherry, and it's a pleasure to be here and to be talking about one of my loves, calypso, and all about calypso, especially the adjudication of calypso.
Well, I want to start from this point. We hear calypso, we hear soca. As somebody who have a love for it and have been involved in it over the years, what really is calypso?
What is calypso? It is an art form that has developed out of years of slavery, let's say, and rebellion and struggle. And it came through that era where we had to find a way to express ourselves in a unique way, to say what was going on in the village, to release our stresses. So we had humor. We spoke of the politics of the day. We spoke of the social construct. Anything that happened. So you have the social commentary, the political commentary, and it was done predominantly in a unique timing system, which gave it its own feel. And hence we developed our own art form, referred to as the calypso. That's basically it in a nutshell. It has some very peculiar forms in terms of its musical structure. It has its lows, its rhyming, its lyrics, its melodic structure. And, well, like every other music, every other genre, it is those changes in the melodic lines, in the melodic structure, in the form of lyrics, the form of presentation that makes each one different from the other.
Okay, so I just want to zero in with you a bit. Who is the calypsonian, I should say, that actually draw you to the art form that you're so embedded in it at this point?
I kind of grew up on calypso music. Would have been the Sparrows and the Kitchener, Lord Shorty. In those days, Black Stallion, Black Wizard, and those were the real persons that brought me into listening to calypso, because it dealt with everything. There was, I can't think of a topic that one of these calypsonians has not dealt with. If we go through a Sparrow repertoire, we can find different genres. We could find Sparrow singing the ballads, Sparrow in the religious topics. He sang about the Queen, he sang about Idi Amin, he sang about our own revolution in Grenada. And so it was just the music of the day for me. It was just the person reflecting best what you thought and could depict your history in another way, not from the books, but telling it in their own way. And how they understood what was going on in the country at the time, the politics of the day, the social happenings. We could talk about all the different STIs if calypsonians would have dealt with it. They would have spoken about all that happened in the world. There would have been humor, so you could laugh. So that really drew me into it. I don't think any other music deals with everything
as calypso
like calypso does. And so I could have connected with it from a youngster right up to today. And I go back through and I play songs. In my van is only calypso predominantly. And my children have gotten to like it. My daughter will come in and say, "Daddy, CD2, track 8, or I'm like 18 now." And she's already into it because, it's what we are. We can connect to the beat. We can connect to what is being said. We could understand the language. And that really caught me and brought me into a love for calypso.
Okay. So let's zero in on our calypsos now. We're talking Grenada. We can't leave out Carriacou because, you know, the carnivals is on both sides. If we're going to look at calypsos in Grenada, what would you see?
We have come a long way over the years in development of calypso. And I look at it from the perspective of the ability to write a calypso, that's the lyric, the ability to do the musical aspect of it, and then add the melody and the presentation, rendition, and so to it. So we have really grown. I think what is still a little behind is the music. And I say so year in, year out. And there needs to be some structure that addresses music in Grenada and the teaching of music in Grenada for us to really develop and bring that part of it. We have excellent ideas, and Calypsonians from around the region will tell you that ideas in Grenada seems to be the idea factory. But the developmental aspect is lacking. We have had a few who have gone on. We have had the Ajamos who we export to the world. And if we understand Ajamo, he took time off to understand the music, study the sound of the music, so he also did sound engineering. And he has been able to excel. Scholar who again has been a scholar of the art form and studied the art form and understands the different forms and the structure and really is a social commentator, comments on anything that goes on. Wizard has an ability to write that is second to none, and he is able to do that. The music comes along because he has used excellent arrangers over the time. But Inspector, again, excellent stage man, write nice party songs over the years. But we see his music falling off now. He's still able to render. He's still able to come front stage and present. But the material is lacking in terms of its lyric, but mainly its melodic structure. And that has a lot to do with the teaching of music. The Barbadians a few years ago took time off to understand this music and came back a force with ring bang music and took over Trinidad and took over the region by storm. And they still continue to produce excellent music. We need to understand that in our art form, but we have grown. We have come from far till we almost able at that point now to distinguish a Grenada beat, because I was listening to an interview on Synergy last evening or night before with Boise, and the Trinis were actually able to analyze that in there is a jab feel. Now what the jab feel is, we need to really hone in on it before somebody else does it. So we really need to focus on that. So Grenada, we have got to that point where we kind of carving out our own niche market. But again, we need to continue working and say, this is Grenada. These are the artists we have produced. This is our sound. When you hear it, when you hear ring bang, you know that is Bajan. When we hear a zouk and a faster beat, we know Northern Caribbean, we know Dominica, St. Lucia, even creeping up into an Antigua. Right? So we know we could can that day. When we come down south, we have Trinidad, and from the time we hear them, we know them. The voices, the melodic structure, the arrangers have been there for a while, so we kind of get a feel of what it is. Grenada needs to carve that niche with our own unique style, whether it be jab, whether it be shortney, whether it be whatever, where we need to carve our niche. But we have grown over the years. We just need to keep on that track and focus properly.
Okay. Well, I wonder, because when we have good information, time do slip away. I want us to speak now to the calypsos, because we have a number of artists. We find most of them, the younger ones, going towards the soca. But in terms of calypsos, because oftentimes I go to cover the calypso final in Carriacou, and I've been to the semi-finals in Grenada. You always hear the patrons, the judging thing is, look at what this man's saying. So you have some persons who would come and they would sing strictly politics. The next person may sing something that encompasses a whole set of different ideas that doesn't really zero in on the actual politician. So speak to us about the construction of calypsos and how the judges go about dissecting in order to adjudicate correctly.
Okay, well, we have what we refer to as the criteria for adjudication. Black Wizard would say they're the elements of a song.
Okay.
Right? The same thing. There must be lyrics. You must be telling me something. All right? You must be right. You must have that inner feeling that allows you to pen something. What you pen is what we refer to as your lyrics. This is what you want to say to me. In calypso, we talk about rhyming scheme. We talk about different writing styles. We talk about the use of language. And we talk, and that is something that we need to work on, our vocabulary and our ability to write. We have rhyming schemes. We have where you rhyme the first line with the second line, or you rhyme the first line with the third line. In some instances, you rhyme even halfway in the first line. So you have the first half and the second half of a line rhyming. It's all you're doing. But at the end of the day, it must lend itself to what you want to say. So we have the lyrics, which has its theme and its consistency and several of the other aspects. The score sheet speaks to imagery, the mental picture, and that's for lyrics. What are you telling me? When you're going to describe Sherry-Ann to me, at the end of the day, I must, from the time I see Sherry-Ann walking in town, I must say, that is the lady they were speaking about. The theme development. What is the theme you're singing about? You might have the topic, yes. And if you don't zero in that, I want to deal with this particular theme, because topics can cross into different themes. Let's say.
So the theme is separate from the topic.
The topic, yes, because I might be singing about, let's look at a theme. We might look at a broad theme, the sexually transmitted diseases. And within that, I can think of the different diseases.
Types, yeah.
Right? I can do that. But I can also be talking about public health issues in Grenada as a general theme, and also sexually transmitted diseases are part of that too. So that how we deal with the aspect of the calypso under those different themes will zero us into how we write our verses. Because different topics might be able to fit into different areas. How you treat them would be what makes it unique or different. All right? So that's the theme and the development. The story. What are you really telling us? And the sequence of the story. I'd want to know from the introduction, that there is an introduction. And you start to introduce what you're about to say, then you go into the development of it, and then you give me a conclusion or a recommendation, something that sums up what you were trying to say or saying. And I don't want to hear that you start with in the middle of the story, and then we come back to what might be an introduction that has you wondering, well, where are we really going with this? Or you start in the middle of the story, okay, and just stay there. There's no real development of the topic. We could sing 3 verses on AIDS kills people, AIDS worldwide, AIDS, avoid sexual misconduct. We could stay right there. And we could do 3 verses on that, we could do 4 verses on it. But could we start by introducing it as saying, we have this scourge that has now taken over, has these causes, whatever, its name is so and so, it was developed whenever, and then we go into the effects it has on the society, the fact that several people are dying, the effect it has on the workforce. We have limited workforce, limited productivity as a result of that, and then we go into a conclusion which says, okay, we need to be more sexually aware, we need to spread the word on this, so that there is a kind of flow of what happens, as opposed to we just staying there with a lovely idea, but no development. The poetic structure, as I said, the use of language, and your rhyming scheme, and your metering, and the highs and the lows of it. I always say once you flatline in anything that you do, it means that you're dead. So there needs to be that metering, the metering system, the timing, and the rhyming scheme gives you some, you're trying to see, okay, he says where now. So I'm expecting in my mind to hear a there or where or something else that rhymes with it, Though David Rudder has done different things with that still keeps us in the know and still keeps us attuned, that he has in some instances totally done away with rhyme. But his writing, he then goes into very standard English. So we're following a very structured form. And that too. So all that is lyric. And these are, as Black Wizard said, elements of a song, of a calypso. You must be telling me something for it to be a calypso. Then I have written this. It's not a poem. So then I must put music to it. And so we go into the melodic structure. Now, the melody is really what you do with it, with your voice. The musical accompaniment is but a part of it.
Just to enhance.
To enhance the lyrics that you wrote and set the mood for it. So, if you're singing about a funeral and death, we expect to get a more minor key, somber, musical arrangement. And then we do expect your voice to come in a happy, bright tone, singing about this funeral that you went to. And, we expect you to then come in a more somber tone and deliver. Right? So what you do with your voice, getting over that message is where the melody is. So when you start to sing, that is when I get the melody. We could say so, we could make, it's kind of clear these days, especially when we have a rhythm. When you hear the rhythm start, you don't know who is going to sing. You don't know which one of them it is.
All right.
Until you hear what they're doing with their voice. Then you say, beside the tone, you say, okay, yeah, this is now Talpri on this rhythm. This is now, or this is the Mr. Killer on the rhythm, or this is the whoever. Because what they do with it with their voice is what makes the melody and makes one different from the other. So the melodic structure, the rhyme scheme, the tones, and all of those. And on that melody, we have the mood, or the tune, and the air. The mood, whether it's reflective of the lyrics. So we set the musical accompaniment, which sets the mood, and also your voice. The rhyme and tempo, because we must be at the right speed. We can't be going too fast that you can't understand the lyric too, or it's not sending the right tone of the music, right? Variation is not monotonous. We're not hearing the same lines over and over, and we don't know when the verse has ended from when the chorus has started, and it's until you hear a series of lines a second time, then you say, okay, this is the chorus now. Or you hear it a third time, and you say, okay, yeah, that certainly is the chorus, as opposed to hearing a difference in the mood for the verse and the chorus. Tunefulness, it must be pleasant to the ear. Whatever we hear, it must be pleasant to the ear, and it must be fresh. It must be something that from the time we hear it, we say, that's Sherian reading the news.
But sometimes I am happy that you mentioned that, because over the years you've been hearing criticisms that when you hear particular calypsonians, you hear, same melody, same this, same that.
Well, everybody has a style.
Oh, so it all has
everybody
to do with
has a style,
okay.
And it is your style. I mean, I can pick out a jamo, whether it's Smalley's singing it.
Oh.
Because
the way it is
structured, that is his style. When he presents it, it's different from how Smalley's will present it. But you can hear the general style, the musical arrangement, the structure, the writing form, the way the lyrics are put together. You can determine it. I remember some years ago here in a Sugar Hollows, and I said, that sounds so much like an Ajamo. And then later on, it was actually written by Ajamo.
Okay.
You could hear it coming out, and you know the styles after a while. Some of the juniors you hear, okay, let's say that is Teacher Eddie. This one is Teacher Eddie, written by Teacher Eddie, because you know from the melodic lines and so on. So we all have a form, and especially when we're doing it ourselves. And this is what makes calypso so unique and so difficult in this, that artists, I mean, the old calypsonians say you're not a calypsonian unless you could write your own calypso, which I think is unfair to several persons, because we all not writers. Some might be excellent performers. Some might be better at doing the melodic structure, the lines. Some might be better at rendering. Some might be better at writing. And it shouldn't stop you from coming front stage and presenting what you have to. But you could become bogged down in your own style, and so start a song the same year in, year out, year in, year out. And we know the other forms of music. One, they don't have a competition. And two, they are singers, they are writers, they are arrangers, they are producers. So you have a series of songwriters. They just write songs, and Rihanna will sing one, and Stevie Wonder will sing one, and we had Stevie writing for Third World, and we hear in the days of the Marleys and the Wailers, we had Tosh writing and Marley singing, and Bunny Wailer writing and Tosh singing. So sometimes so there was a freshness coming into it. And I don't have a problem with us getting writers, getting persons who could write. We know over the years Inspector has used other writers. He went back to it in some way this year, and he got assistance, and he came back to some of his old form. So when you begin to look back into yourself and realize or hear from your audience, you're sounding too same, then it might be need to reinvent yourself. Either learn music so that you're exposed to greater musical forms. And I listened to Bungie, and we know the successes of the differentology. That song, We Ready. And in studio, going through, and they were putting down the tracks. And he said, there's something missing. I hearing some Spanish guitar somewhere that needs to be put into this to give it the extra that I want. And so immediately called for the guitarists who came into the studio, put on the tracks. And from knowing some of the band members, it was a one hit. He came in, did it, and that was it. And we know the successes of it. So understanding the music and where you want to go with it and the form is but a big part of it. Just like reading wide, so you expand your knowledge base in terms of your vocabulary, a wider range of topics that you know exposed to, because you know opened up to a greater world of information. The same with the music. Expose yourself to all different forms, and hence get away from the thought of hearing, it's the same melody every year, and we're hearing the same thing every year, because you limit yourself to the topics that you know that you can handle. If you limit yourself to the news in Grenada, you limit yourself to topics, or the politics of Grenada, or the music that you know, as opposed to going to another artist or another studio or another and get a different sound. Because even in the studio, there's a particular sound. I know Byron Lee never let anybody go behind his mixer board, because he wanted his band to sound a particular way. And so there's a different sound in each studio. Arrangers have different ways of doing things. So if you want a different feel, go to a different studio, try a different writer, expose yourself to different things, and hence move away from that. This is the same song, year in, year out, year in, year out.
So in terms of the actual judging, I know they always have a chief judge. So you have maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 persons on it. What really is the duty of that chief judge?
The chief judge has the responsibility for ensuring that all is going correct. Your responsibility to ensure that your judges are hearing the music properly. So you kind of insist on a song check before. Make sure everybody is comfortable. Make sure everybody or you start from the comfortable in the physical being, that the seats are comfortable, they have pens, they can see properly, they can hear the stage, they can see everything that's going on. The chief judge, the reporting to and from what happens on stage, the responsibility of the chief judge. If there's an issue with the band, or sometimes the artists are hearing because the monitors are on, but the PA system is gone, then the information to backstage, to stop the artists, the responsibility of the chief judge. If there are diction issues, you're not hearing somebody clearly, it might not be the issue of the artist, but the issue of the sound system. And so the responsibility of the judge, of the chief judge, with his panel, to lead that process, to make that determination. This is what is happening at the time. Let's make a determination. Ensuring that the code of ethics of judges is kept at all times. That there is no conversation, especially the conversation on the table, except it is where there is need for conversation. If I'm not hearing, I might want to pinch the judge next to me and say, are you hearing clearly? As opposed to, you hear them lyrics, boy? You hear all that? Those are two different conversations. If you're not hearing, you're unable to pick up the sound or the lyrics clearly, or hear the musical accompaniment, the bass guitar might be too loud for you, whatever. You might say, you don't find so and so. All right, let's get that corrected and let's start again. So the chief judge is the person that makes all those final determinations. The chief judge is responsible for ensuring that the sheets are signed off on. All judges do the tallying, that the tallying is correct, signs each sheet, passes this to the attaché. At the end of the day, the tallying of the scores is ultimate responsibility of the chief judge. But each judge has a responsibility, but the tally sheet ensuring that when you put your signature, what you're saying here is that our collective thing, but I take responsibility as chief judge. And these are some of the major roles of the chief judge, ensuring that all goes well on the panel at the time.
Well, Elon, at this time, you say when information flowing, time slips away. What I would like to do now, viewers, I'd like to end this first part of the spotlight with Randall Robinson. He's local judge, regional judge. We spoke a lot about calypso. But I want to invite him to remain here on the spotlight so that we can continue to speak a bit about the ethics and more information about calypso, because as we are well aware, it's the season for the Sister Isle, and very soon it will be the season for mainland Grenada. So at this time, I'd like to thank you very much for viewing, and join us again next week when we will continue our discussion here on the Spotlight with Randall Robinson, local and regional calypso judge. And then I want to speak a bit to the, like this week, especially when you have all the different semifinals, why is it necessary to use the same set of judges night after night?
Is not recommended. It is what is being done. That
is what I wanted to. That is something I always find how.
It is being done of recent times.